My wife cheated with our business partner, then stole $250, $0 from our joint account and tried to claim our house in the divorce. Now it's a war over everything, and I just found out she's been planning this for years. I never thought I'd be the guy writing about how his wife betrayed him, but here we are. The most shocking part, it all started with something so small I almost missed it. I found out she was cheating on me with our business partner, Mark, and it wasn't just a quick fling. She'd been planning this for years. That's what kills me the most. The betrayal wasn't just about sex. It was about trust, money, and a lifetime of lies. Honestly, I still don't know how I didn't see it coming. If I think back, there were signs everywhere, small things that didn't add up, but I brushed them off. I was too blind, too comfortable in our life. It started about 6 months ago. My wife, Lisa, began acting differently. She became more secretive with her phone, always hiding it when I entered the room. She'd brush off my questions, tell me I was paranoid or overly jealous. She'd say things like, "You're just imagining things," or "You're being ridiculous." But I noticed her spending more time on her laptop late at night, and she'd always have some excuse, working late, a new project, whatever. I thought maybe she was just stressed, or maybe she was working on her art or some hobby she never mentioned before. Then came the little things that made me suspicious. She started wearing different clothes, more revealing, more flirtatious. She'd come back from her business trips with a strange glint in her eye, a kind of excitement I'd never seen before. But I didn't want to believe she could be cheating. I loved her. We built a good life together, 2 kids, a nice house, a business that was supposed to be our future. I was proud of what we had, and I thought she was too. But I guess I was wrong. One night I caught her in a lie. She said she was working late again, but I found her car at Mark's house. I saw her leaving just after midnight, her hair disheveled, makeup smudged. My stomach dropped. I followed her from a distance, hiding behind trees, watching her go into Mark's house. That's when I saw them, her and Mark, kissing passionately in the driveway, not even trying to hide it. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. All the trust, all the love shattered in an instant. I wanted to confront her right then and there, but I knew I needed to think. I needed proof. The next day, I started digging into everything. I checked our bank accounts, our emails, her phone. That's when I found the real bombshell. She'd been siphoning money from our joint account 250 over the past year. Money that should gone into our kids' college fund, our retirement, our future. Instead, she used it to fund her affair, pay for trips, gifts, who knows what else. And the worst part, she was trying to claim our house in the divorce, saying I was an absentee husband, that I'd neglected her. She lied her way through every conversation, spinning tales about how she was just unhappy and needed a change. But I knew better. She'd been planning this for years, and I was just blind to it all. I remember sitting there, staring at the bank statement, feeling a mixture of rage, heartbreak, and disbelief. How could she do this to me, to our kids? I thought I knew her. I thought we had a solid marriage. Turns out she was planning her escape, and I was just too stupid to see it. The thing that stings most is how she's trying to turn it around, acting innocent, crying, claiming she's the victim. Yeah, right, I've never felt so betrayed in my life. And I swear I'm not done yet. I've got plans now, and I won't let her get away with this. Not without a fight. After discovering everything, that she was cheating on me with Mark, stealing $250,000 and trying to throw me out of the house, I felt like I was hit by a freight train. My mind was racing, trying to process how my wife, the woman I loved and trusted, could be capable of such deception. I kept asking myself, how did I not see this coming? How long has she been planning this? Did I really know her at all? The anger simmered just beneath the surface, but beneath that was a deep, aching sense of betrayal that I couldn't shake. I remember sitting in my office that evening, staring at my phone, trying to decide what to do next. I couldn't believe she had been planning this for years. I found old emails, hidden files, receipts for trips she took alone, things I never knew about. It was like uncovering a different person entirely. And the worst part was, I'd been so blind, so trusting. I always thought we had a strong partnership, that we were in this together. Turns out, she was building her own separate world, secretly, right under my nose. That night I confronted her. I called her into the living room, my voice trembling but firm. "Lisa, I know everything," I said. Her face froze for a moment, then she smirked like she thought she was clever. She tried to deny it at first, but I laid out the evidence: bank statements, emails, her trip details. Her face paled, then reddened with anger. She started lying, trying to spin her story. "I don't know what you're talking about," she said, her voice dripping with false innocence. "You're just paranoid. You always jump to conclusions. I've been working hard and you don't appreciate me." I lost it. I told her how she'd betrayed me, how she'd stolen from our family, how she'd been lying for years. She kept crying, saying she was unhappy, that I'd neglected her, that she was just trying to find herself. But I saw through it. Her tears weren't genuine, they were manipulation. She wanted to make me feel guilty so I'd back down, but I wasn't about to let her get away with this. Not after everything. The emotional impact hit me hard. I felt a mixture of sadness, rage, and disgust. I was devastated that the woman I loved could do this to me, to our kids. The betrayal cut so deep, I wondered if I'd ever recover. I trusted her with everything: our money, our future, our family, and she'd thrown it all away for some affair, some reckless desire. I couldn't sleep that night, replaying everything in my head, trying to make sense of it. I kept asking myself how I'd been so blind, how I hadn't seen the signs. And I knew, deep down, that this was just the beginning. The next step was deciding what to do about it all. I started thinking about my options: divorce, fighting for custody, trying to recover the stolen money. But I also knew that she wouldn't go down without a fight. She was clever, manipulative, and she had money on her side. She'd already hired a lawyer, I was certain. My gut told me that this wasn't going to be an easy battle, but I also knew I couldn't let her walk all over me. I had to take control, plan my own revenge if that's what it took, because I refused to be the victim in this story. I'd been burned badly, but I wasn't broken. Yet. In the days that followed, I started gathering evidence, talking to a lawyer and talking to friends who knew what she was capable of. I realized this wasn't just about a cheating wife. It was about a con artist, a thief, a manipulator. And she'd been planning her escape for years, right under my nose. I felt like I'd been played, like I was the punchline of some cruel joke. But I also knew I had to act fast. She wasn't going to just walk away with everything, especially not after stealing that much money. I had to find a way to fight back, to get what was mine, and to make sure she paid for what she'd done. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my future. I threw myself into action after that night. I couldn't just sit around and let her take everything: our house, the money, the kids' stability, while she played the innocent victim. I hired a lawyer, one who specialized in financial crimes and divorce wars. I needed to understand exactly what I was up against. The more I dug, the clearer it became that Lisa had been planning this for years. I found proof of secret accounts, offshore transactions, and even fake companies she'd set up to hide the money. It was like uncovering a web of lies spun tight over a decade. While I was doing that, Lisa was busy spinning her own story. She'd call me crying, claiming I was controlling, abusive, and just jealous. She'd say I was making everything up, that I was paranoid and overreacting. She even accused me of cheating, which was laughable considering I was too stunned and betrayed to think about anyone else. But she knew how to manipulate, how to turn things around. She'd cry and scream, trying to make me feel guilty for confronting her, for digging into her past. Honestly, I started to hate her for the person she'd become. One day I caught her in a blatant lie. She told me she was at a friend's house just having a girls' night. I decided to follow her just to see. I tailed her to Mark's house again, and this time I saw her walking into his place. No disguise, no pretending. I saw her kiss him goodbye, then leave. That was it. I snapped pictures on my phone, proof I could use in court or to expose her. I felt sick but also energized. I knew I had to do something drastic, something to stop her from screwing us over any further. I started planning my revenge. Not just financially, although that was a huge part of it, but also emotionally. I wanted her to see that I wasn't going to roll over and let her destroy everything we built. I hired a private investigator to keep tabs on her, to gather more evidence. Meanwhile, I made sure I documented every lie, every suspicious transaction, every secret meeting. I wasn't going to let her spin her web of bullshit and walk away with the house, the money, and the kids. I had to fight dirty if I had to, but I'd do whatever it took to come out on top. At the same time, I started talking to friends and family, trying to get support. I needed allies, people who knew her as well as I did, people who could testify to her manipulative ways. I also realized I couldn't let her see how much I was hurting. I had to stay strong, cold even, to outsmart her. She was used to controlling the narrative, but I was determined to rewrite it. I wasn't just going to accept losing everything. I had a plan to turn the tables, to make her regret every lie, every stolen dollar, every moment she thought she was winning. The hardest part was facing the reality that she'd been planning this for years. Her lies, her deceit, they weren't just spur-of-the-moment mistakes. It was premeditated. She'd carefully crafted her escape route, hiding money, lying about her whereabouts, and building her case to claim the house. I felt like a fool for trusting her so blindly, but now I was done being naive. I was ready to fight, not just for the money or the house, but for my dignity, my reputation, and my children's future. I knew I'd have to be ruthless, that she wouldn't go down without a fight, but I was prepared for that. Every day I spent gathering evidence, planning my moves. I felt more confident. She thought she could cheat the system, manipulate everyone, and walk away scot-free. Well, I was about to prove her wrong. The more I uncovered about Lisa's scheme, the angrier I got. I couldn't believe how deeply she'd gone to pull this off. She'd been siphoning money from our joint accounts for years, hiding it in offshore accounts, and setting up fake companies just to cover her tracks. It was like dealing with a professional con artist. The thing that really set me off was discovering she'd been planning to claim the house in the divorce, knowing full well she had no legitimate claim, just to squeeze every last dollar out of me. She'd lied so convincingly, spun her web of deceit so tight, I almost didn't recognize her. I hired a forensic accountant to go through every penny. The numbers didn't lie. She drained our savings, used our credit cards for her trips with Mark, and even transferred money into her sister's account to hide it. Every new piece of evidence made me realize just how calculated her betrayal was. She'd been planning her escape for years, and I'd been too blind to see it. The worst part, she kept lying, telling me she was just unhappy and needed a change, like I was the one at fault. She played the victim, crying, twisting words, and trying to make me look like the bad guy. Meanwhile, I kept building my case. I contacted a lawyer who specialized in financial fraud and high-stakes divorce. We drafted a plan to freeze her assets, prevent her from selling the house, and get an order to recover the stolen money. I knew she'd fight dirty, she always did, but I was ready. I also hired a private investigator to follow her around, gather more proof, and monitor her interactions with Mark. I wanted everything documented. I needed to be prepared for the war that was coming. One evening, I found more proof that she'd been lying about her whereabouts. I had set up a GPS tracker on her car after her ridiculous story about working late every night. Turns out she'd been meeting Mark at his place or staying overnight at hotels. I saw her leaving her friend's house, but she was actually sneaking off to see him. That was the moment I knew I had her dead to rights. I printed out all the evidence, organized it, and sent it to my lawyer. It was time to take action. I also reached out to the bank to put a temporary hold on our joint accounts, just to stop her from draining any more money. I knew she'd try to manipulate the situation, spin it around, and accuse me of trying to control her. But I didn't care. I had to protect what was left of our assets. I also started preparing for the worst, thinking about what I'd do if she tried to claim the house in the divorce, or if she tried to take the kids and run. I wasn't going to let her do that without a fight. At this point, I felt like I was in a war I couldn't see the end of. Every day brought new surprises, more lies, more deception. But I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I knew I had to stay strong, be strategic, and not let her see how much she was hurting me. I had to keep my head clear and stick to my plan. I couldn't let her win, not after everything. I knew she was dangerous, manipulative, and relentless, but I was just as determined. This wasn't just about money or a house anymore. It was about stopping her from destroying what little was left of our family. I wasn't going to let her walk away with everything she wanted, especially not after all the pain she caused. I was ready to fight for my life, for my future, and for my children's stability. The day I finally decided to confront her with everything was the day I knew I couldn't hold back anymore. I had all the evidence, bank statements, emails, texts, the GPS logs, everything. I sat her down in the living room, my hands trembling slightly, but my voice steady. I laid out the facts, the stolen money, her affair with Mark, the fake companies, the secret accounts. Her face twisted in anger and defiance, but I could see the cracks in her composure. She tried her usual lies, spinning stories about how she was just unhappy, how I was controlling, how she deserves to be happy. But I wasn't buying it anymore. She started crying fake tears I knew, trying to paint herself as the victim. "You don't understand," she wailed. "I was just trying to find myself. Mark made me feel alive again. You're so distant, so cold. I needed this affair to feel something." Her words made me sick. She was so good at manipulation, twisting everything to make me look like the bad guy. But I was beyond caring about her excuses. I knew she'd been planning this for years, and I was just a pawn in her game. I told her straight, "You're done. I've got enough evidence to take you to court, to freeze your assets, and to fight for custody of the kids. You're not getting away with this. I want a divorce, and I want a full accounting of every dollar you stole." Her face darkened, and for the first time I saw real fear in her eyes. She knew I was serious. I could see her mind racing, trying to come up with a new lie, a new way to manipulate me. But I was done playing her game. The emotional impact hit me hard in that moment. I felt a mix of rage and heartbreak. How could she do this? How could someone I loved and trusted turn into such a liar and thief? I was devastated, but also furious. Furious that she had stolen from us, from our kids' future, from everything we built. I realized I'd been a fool to think she was just unhappy, that she'd change someday. No, she'd been planning her escape for years, and I'd been too blind to see it. After that confrontation, I made some quick decisions. I contacted my lawyer and told him to start the divorce process immediately. I also told him to freeze her accounts, seize her assets, and prepare for a fight over the house. I was going to make her pay for everything she'd done, financially, emotionally, and legally. I also reached out to the bank and the police to ensure she couldn't drain any more money or hide anything further. I wanted to cut her off at every turn. I told her she wasn't getting the house easily, not after she tried to steal it from me. I was going to fight her in court, show all the proof I had, and make sure she couldn't claim what wasn't rightfully hers. I knew she'd escalate the fight, she always did, but I was prepared. I'd learned that she was manipulative, ruthless, and relentless. Now I had to be just as relentless. I was done being the victim. This was war, and I was ready to win. In the weeks that followed, everything changed. The court proceedings were brutal, but I had the evidence, and I was determined to see justice done. My lawyer worked tirelessly, building a case that exposed Lisa's years of deception and theft. Meanwhile, I kept my head down, focusing on the kids, trying to shield them from the chaos. It was a whirlwind, constant battles over assets, custody, and the house. Every day felt like walking through a minefield, but I refused to back down. Lisa's lies started unraveling in court. The proof of her affair, the hidden accounts, the stolen money, all of it came to light. She tried to spin her narrative, but the truth was too overwhelming. The judge saw right through her, denying her claim to the house and ordering her to return the stolen funds. The divorce was finalized in a tense, bitter courtroom, and I walked out knowing I'd fought for what was rightfully mine. It hurt to see her lose everything, but at least I had kept what mattered most: my integrity, my sanity, and my children's stability. The aftermath was a mix of relief and pain. I had lost trust in the woman I once loved, but I gained clarity about who I was. I learned that sometimes you have to fight for yourself, even when it feels impossible. I also realized that I'd been blind for too long, but I was stronger now, more cautious, more guarded. I kept my distance from Lisa, knowing she'd never change, and focused on rebuilding my life. I started therapy, worked on my emotional wounds, and slowly I began to heal. Looking back, I see how everything unfolded as a brutal lesson. Trust is fragile, and sometimes the people you love the most can betray you the hardest. But I also learned that resilience matters. I learned to stand up, take control, and never let someone else's lies define me. The betrayal changed me, yes, but it also made me more aware, more cautious, more determined to protect what's mine. I hope anyone else facing something similar learns this too. Don't let betrayal break you. Use it as fuel to rebuild and come out stronger on the other side. Because ultimately, justice and truth will prevail, no matter how deep the lies run or how dark the betrayal.